Hello everyone, it is Lawrence from Express Unity here, and today we are going to be doing episode 3 for the PlayFab and Photon game that we're making inside Unity 3D. Now before we get started, I do ask you to give me, as my current mic setup is probably going to be picking up my mouse clicking. So I hope that does not annoy you, but hopefully soon all that will be resolved and the mic quality should be decent. Alrighty, so what we did in last episode is make a successful login and registration system. So if we just use our test account, which is Rand and Rand13, it'll say welcome Rand connecting. So what I will be using is the Photon engine documentation, and we'll be using some of these functions in creating and joining to the Photon networking server. So first things first, can't remember if we set Photon up. I believe we did. Yes, we did. Okay, so in our scripts folder, I'm going to create a new folder called networking. Also, I hope my typing doesn't annoy you either. Again, I'm sorry for all the noise. And this new script, I'm just going to call it MP Manager for Multiplayer Manager. Let's open that up. Once it loads, alrighty, so the first thing we want to do is using Photon, and we will be wanting, if it's pun dot the Photon.pun behavior. Actually, for the network manager, we can just use mono behavior, I believe. That should work just fine. Okay, so let's create a new method to start off with, and let's call that connect to master. Hey, that's not a void connect to this. Just connect to master like that. And in here, we're going to do Photon network dot connect, and we're going to connect to master. Now we can do connect to region, connect using settings, but no, sorry, we are going to be using connect using settings. But connect to region, it's basically the same thing as connect using settings, except connect using settings will use the Photon. Let's see, where is it? Resources? Photon reference here. So basically it's going to be using the settings we put here. So in my case, my region is Australia, protocol UDP. So if you wanted to have some sort of region select drop down before you log in, you can do that, and then you can use connect to region. And then you can make some sort of switch that could select all these regions that are inside Cloud Region Code. But for simplicity's sake, we are not going to do that. We're just going to connect using settings and a game version. So I'm going to make a public string that we can change, and we're going to call this game version. And inside here, we're going to pass the string game version. So basically what that is is only clients with the same game version string will be able to join each other. So if we go and let the script compile now, and let's create a new empty game object and call it multiplayer manager. Drag that on top of PlayFab Manager, and let's drag our new script into that. So let's make our game version, I don't know, pre-alpha v1. That can be our game version. So every iteration to your game you make, or every update you make, you might want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, because you clearly, you don't want to have players joining each other that have version 5 and players that have version 1. It wouldn't make sense. Then you'll end up seeing weird things like, I don't know, if version 1 doesn't have a player rocket pack and then version 5 has a rocket pack, then you're gonna start seeing some weird things happening in version 1. So make sure every update you make that is public, you change this, the game version. Alright, so what we can do now is Photon Network. Connection state detailed. So basically this will tell you what the current state of the Photon networking is. So if we go back into our canvas and let's create a new text over here, and let's move that upright. Let's align it to the right and to the center. Make it a little bit bigger. And we won't give it anything to start with. And let's just call it connection state. Okay. And in here, what we can do is void fixed update. Let's make we want to give it a reference to that text field we just made, so we want to be using Unity engine.ui. Let's make a public text game connection state. And then for now, we can leave it like that. Connect state, that'll do. Connect state.text. We can equal that to Photon networking dot connection state. Connection state detailed. Detailed. Maybe using the wrong one here. Let's just look. Let's just try 2 string. Okay. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. We do need to reference that there. I'm just gonna, just going to save scene. It says disconnected. So let's do rand. I'm going to, oh, actually, that's not even going to do anything because we haven't added this function to our playFab auth. So what we want to do is we'll do it above everything else up here. So we're going to make a new public MP manager. I'm just going to call it MP. And then on login, when it's successful, we want to do mp.connect to master. And that is going to call the Photon Connect using settings. So now if we do that again, files, there it is, drag our component there, should automatically assign the script. So let's try this again. This is disconnected, rand 123, login, connecting, connected. Okay, so we can just do detailed. Let's try that. It should still say disconnected. Okay, so peer created. So what we can do now is rand 123. And it'll tell you each step. So this is the detailed thing. So if we log in, connecting to name server, and it'll tell you every single step. So connected to master is what you want to see up here. If you're connected to master, that means you are now sending calls to the Photon servers. So what we can do now is, when we're connected, let's now create public playfab auth over here, and we'll just call it auth. And before we do anything else, we just want to assign it. Like so. Alright, so let's go into the documentation, and on connected to master is the call that we're looking for. So let's do, I believe we do public virtual void on connected to master. I believe that's how you do it. Master. Okay. So what we can do now is in the playfab auth script, let's make a public void, and let's call it hide login. And we want to do user, well actually, this is in its own thing. So let's just create a new public game object and call it login UI. The script compile. Drag the panel inside that, and hide UI. So now we want to do login UI.setActive to false, and then inside the multiplayer manager we want to do auth.hide login. And if I've done this part correctly anyway, we should now see the UI hide when we are connected to Photon, because we don't want to see any of this once we are logged in. Alrighty, hopefully it works. And it did. Alright. So that is the first step. So now we are officially making calls, or getting calls back from Photon, and we've used that to, once connected to the master server, hide our UI. Alrighty, so Let's see. So, like I said in the last two videos, none of this is planned, so I'm just making up these systems on the spot. Everything to do with spawning players and whatnot, so... Let's see. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to create a join or create random button. So let's create a new UI button. Now let's drag that here, maybe enter. Yeah, we'll just leave it in the center for now. We'll do join or create. Text can be join or create. Let's make the button just a tad bigger. Make the text a tad bigger. Okay, so in our multiplayer manager, what we want to do is create a public game object array, and we'll say disable unconnected, and we'll create another game object array that says enable unconnected, and I'll make these capitals so Visual Studio doesn't have a fit. Okay, so basically what we want to do is, if there are any game objects that we want to enable on connected to master, then we can enable them. And if there's any that we want to disable, then we can disable them. We could even remove this entire function here and do it on multiplayer manager. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. Like I said, unplanned. Code is probably messy and not what you want to be using for your real multiplayer game. But I'm just doing this to help you get a better understanding of both PlayFab and Photon. So what we're going to do is create a for each of game objects, and we'll call this disable in disable unconnected. And then what we're going to do here is disable, let's say active to true. False, sorry, not true. We want them to hide, not be enabled. And the same for here, except we'll call it enable. And it will be enable on connect. So this being disable or re-enable. That is a capital. Like so. So now what we want to do is hide our button, and in multiplayer manager, the script's compiled. On connected, we want to add our button, and you know what, while we are here, let's remove this. Let's just do it the correct way. Remove all this. Don't even need this either. Save. So now what we can do is, once it's compiled, disable and connected, I want to add one, and we want to put in our provider. In fact, let's just call this login panel. That is not how you spell panel. There we go. Okay, so what we should see now is when we are connected, the login panel should disappear, and that button we just created should enable. So rand123, login, disappears, and button does not appear. Let's see what I have done wrong. I said through. Jeez, excuse me. A cough fit there. Okay. Now this should work. So rand 123, log in. Panel disables, and we've got our button now. Hooray. So let's drag this more into the middle. And on the multiplayer manager, let's create a new function for that button. Public void create or join. And Photon Network create room. So we can do join or create room, which is the easiest thing to do. Or we can create room, and then if this fails, then we can do dot join room first, and then if this fails, we can then create a room. And what that'll basically enable us to do is, if we want anything special to happen in those instances, then we can do that. So if you want error messages separately, or if you want to throw some sort of animation up or something like that, it is fairly simple to do so. So if we do join room, we have a few fields here. Now it's, sorry, we don't want to join room, we want to do, can I type? I can't. Join random room. And what this will do is it will find any room currently registered with your own game and try and join it. So simply, that's all we have to do. You join the room, and if we wait for it to compile, and my compile speed for Unity ever since the 2018 update has actually been pretty slow. I'm not sure why, but I mean, it's definitely way better than the previous versions of Unity, so say a win. Okay, so MP Manager and create or join. So let's save that. Remember to save your project. You never want to not save and end up crashing on you, because Unity does sometimes do that if you make bad code. Alrighty, so because we've got this little state message that we've actually created, we should actually see a join room message when we do. Or actually, it's not going to say anything because we haven't actually joined a room, because we haven't got any rooms. So there should be a function in the API documentation here that says on joined random room failed. If I remember correctly, talk as well, that'd be great. Let's just do random on Photon random join fail. That's what we want to use here. So void or virtual public virtual void on Photon random join failed, and then inside of here we can do Photon network dot create room. This has a few parameters. So what we are going to do is create new room options. We'll call it RM, and we can do, I think, doing it right now. It's gonna be easier. Let's do this. Room, and then now we've got all these settings here. So we can have max players, so let's maybe have a maximum players of 4. That's equals 4. And is visible, we want to make it true. Alright, so basically what we're doing is we're setting up a room with 4 players and we're making it visible. So what you can do, basically what Photon will automatically do is once the max players is reached, it'll make it so nobody can join. However, I'm fairly certain it will still make the room visible. So if you want to do something where if the players have a max players, then you can turn visible to false. I think there is also an is open. So basically that will also make it so if people can join it or not. So for now, let's just create a new int. We'll call it rand_id equals random.range, and let's just give it a random number from between 0 and 3000. This is not what you want to do because there's always a chance of someone's room having the same ID as someone else's, so that's probably very bad. What you probably want to do is get all current rooms, increment their IDs, and then before you create a room, what the last room ID is that you found, you want to increment it by 1, that way there's no room problems. But for now, because I'm just testing this, we can do the room name .randomID. And even give it a little name, say something like default, and then give it an ID, and then after that we can pass the room options. Oh goodness, what have I done now? Cool. And the type of lobby can just be default, like so. So now what should happen is we try to create or join, we join a random room, there is no random room, so on a random join failed, you will create your own room. Now like I said before, there's a function that does this automatically, but I feel like this gives you a bit more freedom when it comes to doing something else. If you wanted to do something on the create function or on the failed function. So yeah, save that, let the script compile. Let's play this. Log in, rand, 123, and we should now see it connecting, and then when we click the button, that should do that change, and there we go, joined. We're now officially joining a room. So now that we're in this room, we are able to spawn players, have them interact with each other, fancy stuff like that. So this error is always going to stay there because, well, there's no rooms, but it's just a warning, and that's not going to impact your game any way, shape or form. But yeah, I think this will probably be a 2-part area spawning player. I didn't realize how long it was going to take for all this. So yes, I will see you guys in the next episode. Remember that if you want to see more, please do subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the 4th episode.